And nobody knows more about the political context in Pennsylvania than the state's former governor, Tom Corbett. He served from 2011 to 2015 as Republican governor of Pennsylvania, and he's with us live now. Hi, Governor. Good to have you here. Thanks for making the time.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Is Pennsylvania as close as, the polling makes it out to be, but certainly as voters are expressing to reporters who are on the ground?
Oh, I think it is. Pennsylvania is a state that has a majority registered Democrats by about 300,000. It used to be almost a million when I was running for office, so you really had to work to get Democrats to vote for you. Now it's down to 300,000, but we have over a million independents, and I think that's where both candidates are working to get those independents to come and vote for them in the election tomorrow.
Yeah, Donald Trump won the state of Pennsylvania by 0.7% in 2016. Joe Biden won it by just 1.2% in 2020. When you talk about those independents, what is the key set of issues for them? Like, what are they looking to hear from the candidates? And on the flip side, what do you think they're not looking to hear?
Well, hopefully both sides are not looking to hear any more negative ads going on, because we've just been plastered with negative ads for the last 2 months. I think they're looking for, on both sides, a different type of future, and they don't agree on what that different type of future should be. Republicans are looking to go back to business and go back to what they had when President Trump was in office 4 years ago. And I think with Ms. Harris, Vice President Harris, they're looking for a different future than what they have right now.
And do you have a gut feeling about where those independents will go, or if they will be motivated enough by the messages each candidate has delivered to go and vote rather than stay home?
I don't think people are staying home this time. I see a lot of activity out there. It's traditional for us to have yard signs out. I haven't seen yard signs, the number of yard signs like this before in my entire lifetime. Everybody is motivated. I can't, do I have a gut? I think it's going to be very close. In Pennsylvania, if it's 0.05 or less, it's an automatic runoff, recount to make sure that, who won. We could actually look at that. I think the country is evenly divided, and it's going to be difficult to determine. Now, the question is, how fast are we going to know? I think in Pennsylvania, we'll know who wins Pennsylvania by midnight or 1 o'clock, because of the improvements to the voting system and the help that the federal government has provided in equipment, more automated equipment, and a promise to continue to count the vote around the clock, 24 hours in the day.
And I have a number of questions for you about what may happen over the next few days, part and parcel with what you just laid out. I just wanted to ask before I get to that though. Do you think that people in Pennsylvania have a sense of how important their state is going to be in determining the outcome overall of this election?
Oh, absolutely. If they don't, then they haven't been paying attention, because that's all that they're hearing throughout the TV and the radio and whatever the internet's talking about. We are the key swing state. And we have been for many, many years. But with the country being fairly divided, you put that one map up, you can see the Republican states, the Democrat states, but those yellow states, they can go either way. And to keep in mind for your viewers, the Electoral College, it is a winner take all. If you win the popular vote in the state, you get all 19 votes from Pennsylvania.
And when you think about, you mentioned how you think there will be results, let's say by midnight or soon thereafter. How worried are you about what happens in the hours and the days that follow tomorrow? And I ask because you've written a letter very recently with, across the aisle with some other former governors, urging governors to certify the results of the election. You were, I think the last time I interviewed you was actually shortly after the last election, in which you were one of the first people to come out and push people, supporters of Trump and Trump, who were denying the outcome of the election, not to do so. You were big on election integrity. Are you worried about the integrity of this election being challenged?
It's going to be challenged. We already know that. There are already comments out there. But the question is, how serious are those challenges going to be? And are they a delaying tactic to stop the certification process? Am I concerned that they are somewhat of a delaying tactic? To a certain extent. But I think we're 4 years into this. We're much better prepared. The counties are better prepared. The state's better prepared to react to this, and the courts are better prepared to react to this. And these challenges, mass challenges, I don't think you'll see the mass challenges that we saw across the country 4 years ago. So I feel better about it this year. I do worry about outside influences trying to continue to sow distrust and hatred with that, basically. And some of the actions that we've seen with Russia trying to interfere, suggesting that a person down in Georgia was from Haiti and voted a number of times. Those kind of things create the mistrust. And I tell people, you got to trust the system. It's all those people that are working the polls and working in the counties. They're all your neighbors. They're not out there with any grand conspiracy to do this. Having been a prosecutor most of my life, I understand how hard it is for conspiracies to keep a secret. And to be one this grand would be impossible to keep a secret.
Just time for one final question for you, Governor. And I take your point on all that has changed kind of in the system that surrounds electoral integrity over the last 4 years. But there is also some concern that I have heard around the prospect of political violence if, in fact, that process does not work in the way that certain Trump supporters would like to see it work, I guess, for lack of a better way of describing it. Are you worried about political violence this week?
You know, I certainly hope not. You always have to be prepared for it. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's what I did as governor. We're going to continue to do it in the role that I have with Keep Our Republic. We are prepared as we weren't prepared 4 years ago. I think law enforcement is prepared on voting day, tomorrow, election day. I think they're prepared. They can't have too much of a presence, so it's not seen as intimidation, but they're prepared if something happens. And I really don't, I hope that doesn't happen. I'm not anticipating that. And then what you're talking about is you're going to January the 6th. I don't think we'll see another January the 6th.
Okay, that's a good note to end on. Governor, I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.